So then people, that's probably a bit close. Another interview today. This is with one of my students, Jacob. Now, Jacob has actually been working with me to some degree since about 2018. So when I was relatively early on in my trading career, he was working with me. We were doing a few bits together in terms of education. He actually ended up doing fairly well originally, took a few years away from trading, and then came back a couple of years ago to just knuckle back down with his trading. And since then, he has now got 6 figures in funding. He actually did get 7 figures in funding, but it turned out to be a bit of a scam after he was trying to get his payouts out. But this is a fairly unique interview, but I've literally just recorded this, so I know exactly what's happened. But there's a lot of gems from it. The simplicity of his approach, the mindset that he has, and obviously a very, very long time of learning developments that he's had since 2018 has kind of got him to the stage where he is today. So go give it a watch. Of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. It's all good, no worries at all. But yeah, I obviously want to jump on. I think we've had quite the journey together, I would say. I mean, we've been working together for a number of years now, actually, and I think
I was looking. It's 2018. I joined.
Yeah,
Joined
we've
with.
had connections for a very long time.
Yeah, it has
But
been.
yeah, I think it's been in the last maybe year or so, things have really kicked on for you, right?
Massively. I think.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The last year or so, just really like nailed down and just cracked on with it, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I mean, in this call, I guess I kind of want to go over, I guess, what has changed for you and sort of how you've been able to make that transition over the last year or so to really get yourself to the stage that you're in at the moment. So just to, I guess, start from the top. So how much funding have you currently got at the moment?
I've got. So I'm with 5%ers. I don't know if you heard of them.
Yeah.
I did have I had a 20K account with them, when I'm on the hypergrowth program with them. But what I wanted was like the 4 different accounts that they had. So I passed the 20K, but then I try to open up the other accounts with the money that you get from passing it, but you can only have 40K starting balance. So I had to like cancel that one out, sort of thing. So at the moment I've got a 20K, a 10K, and the 2 5Ks that I'm all building up to like pass it. And then yeah, I've got a 100K FTMO account as well.
Amazing. So a good amount of capital behind you at the minute.
Yeah, yeah. I actually got quite badly scammed a couple of months ago.
Okay.
With I can't remember what they're called now. But I was building up my capital with them, and at one point I had about 1.2 million in capital. Um, made my first payout of about 20 grand from it, and they wanted an extra like $500 or something for something or other. And they just wouldn't let us have it.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Nightmare. I think you get
Yeah,
that a lot. There's a lot of new prop firms that are out and they kind of give you they kind of sell you on a bit of a dream, don't they? And then when it gets to the nitty gritty and you're actually owed some money, it's kind of like,
yeah,
that was a waste of time.
yeah. That's it. Because the whole idea of it was like, I could get $1 million capital past the challenge, and then I got it rather than having to wait months and months and months for FTMO to build up and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, lesson learned.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, obviously that demonstrates a real good amount of skill, right? I mean, you don't go and be able to pass these things without the skill. So I want to backtrack, let's say a couple of years or so.
Mhm.
Obviously, we've been trading for quite a while. I guess what was that thing that kind of allowed you to really focus in and start getting results?
I think it was so I had a couple of years off of trading completely, just through some personal issues that happened and all stuff like that. And I think I was sort of sitting there and I was okay at it before. I understood everything, all that stuff. And then I was thinking, you know, why not take another crack at it, get back on the bandwagon and do it all again. And I think in my head, I was thinking it's something that you can do like now, younger. And it's also something that you can do at 60, 70, 80 years old. The process doesn't change. It's all exactly the same process. Obviously, the amounts change because your balance gets different. But yeah, I think that really sort of hit home with us and just, you know, thinking future, this is something I can do on a beach somewhere hot. It's the life that I want to like have at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So obviously you took 3 years off, came back to it. How did you approach coming back to it? Because obviously a lot had changed in that 3 years, especially
Mm,
working with me. We were doing very different things.
very different. Yeah.
What's that, 5 years ago now than what we are now? So when you came back into things, what sort of process did you follow to sort of just kick yourself back into gear?
I think just re-going over all of the videos that you've put on there. There's hours and hours and hours of videos that massive load of information. Um, Also, like prop firms wasn't a thing back when we started. So,
Yeah.
that caught my interest as well. But yeah, going over all of the videos, all of the teachings that you've done, and also what really helped was your live calls that you do each week.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, just understanding and being able to ask a question there and then, and you just answer it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that helps massively.
for sure. For sure. So when you got back into things, obviously the strategies had changed in
Hmm.
those 3 years. I developed new edges, more mechanical approach to how we were doing things.
Hmm.
How have you sort of found picking up the strategies that I teach and sort of getting used to those? How have you sort of
I
found that
think
process?
at the start it was a bit difficult because before it was very much like support resistance areas, whereas now, you know, if you were doing what you were doing now back then, nothing would be valid because
Hmm.
there's all be breaking the support resistance. But what you're doing now makes so much more sense in how the market moves. Um, and also I find it a bit easier now to like mark up charts and stuff like that. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we see you in the community and some of the trades you place and you catch are phenomenal. So it's obviously that you have picked things up well and sort of smashing it out. And I think that's kind of one of those things, right? I talk a lot now about you need to stop using trend line support and resistance indicators. And the only
Mm,
reason I say that is because I've been there.
yeah.
I've been there and I've done it. And I understand how difficult it is to be profitable doing that
Mm,
and trading that way. Like trading with so much discretion in your trading is incredibly difficult.
mm,
And then when you sort of realize that, okay, when I actually step back, look at the right concepts, I put mechanical rules in place, my life becomes so much easier. And
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
rinse and repeat every day.
That's it. That's it. So when I first come back, obviously I relearned all of the new strategy, stuff like that, and I actually bought myself a whiteboard, put permanent marker on it of the rules that you got to meet, so sweeping and all that. And then I just tick them all off when they'd all happen. And just having that edge of just having a set rules, if one of them wasn't met, just forget about it. Look for the next
Mhm.
one. Um, but I just found that helped me just to really nail in and zone in on what rules need to be met to be able to make the trade.
Yeah.
Um, and also I think a lot of it is psychology as well. So I've worked a lot on psychology over the last like couple of months, like massively. Um, and yeah, it's that like not not trying to predict what's going to happen because
Yeah.
no one has a crystal ball. You know, you the charts are there and you just look at it and it gives you that opportunity. You don't go looking for it, sort of thing.
Hmm. That's it. No, 100%. It's like the rules have been back tested, the
Mm,
data has been collected. We know there's an edge present.
yeah,
It's then a case of showing up, seeing if those rules get met. If they do, you take a trade. If they don't, you walk away, you come out the next day. And I
yeah,
think this is where so many discretionary traders, I'm sure, I mean, I've been there myself. I'm sure you've been there yourself. It's like
mm,
you open up the charts and you're like, okay, what can I find today? And
yeah.
it's just
It's just
have
an
a little go
absolute
and see what
minefield
happens.
sometimes. Yeah,
And before you know it, you're in a million different trades. You've traded in this pair, this asset class, and sometimes you're really, really profitable and you're making loads of money. But then
mhm,
the next minute you're like, where did that all go?
yeah,
And it's kind of that really reinforces why having an edge is so important and why
mm,
being patient and sort of sticking to the long game, which I guess you've kind of stuck to the long game a little bit.
yeah,
And I mean, it's been a long time that you've been sort of learned to trade and only sort of pivoted in the last couple of years or so.
mm,
It sort of demonstrates why having that sort of approach is so beneficial, is so important.
yeah. No, definitely. And just having them rules there just make it so much easier to place a trade, you know, or not easy to place a trade, but easier to identify if a trade is there to that is going to be profitable, sort of thing.
Yeah. And it also helps
Um,
with your psychology, right? Because then at least you know when to be disciplined, you know when to be in the market and when not to be, and you actually have
that's it.
something to work off of.
Yeah, yeah. So I found myself really losing myself in like the 1 minute time frame, and you stay in it and you're looking and you're looking and you're looking, and then you like sat there for 10 minutes looking at something that isn't there, sort of thing. So that's why going back out, higher time frames, you know, wait for a clear indication of what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's something I worked on a lot over the last sort of couple of months as well.
Yeah, no,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, yeah.
So obviously things have gone pretty well for you as of recently. So
Mm.
how have you found, I guess, how have you found actually getting profitable? How have things changed for you now that you are actually profitable with your trading, making money? What's life now like?
Yeah,
Actually, how you
it I think I'm in perhaps a different position to some other people where I've got another business that I own. So it allows me to sort of trade whenever I want. So I only actually trade like 3 days a week, which are the days that I'm at home. You know, I've got everything around us. So I'll try and, you know, for them hours that we're trading, I try and turn off my phone to my other stuff and all that sort of stuff. Um, and I think it's just having that extra bit of cash each month, sort of thing.
yeah.
Um, you know, I found that it's hard to take that step over to full time. You know, your life depends on you making trade because that isn't good for like my personal mindset, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Until such time when, you know, you've got such a big capital, making 1% is going to be like, you know, your monthly
More
salary.
money you can ever make in a job, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But with sort of like smaller sized capitals, um, yes, it's lovely to like have, and I'm not knocking it at all, but you couldn't live off of it, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah. And
Um,
you know, funny you actually say about sort of doing this around your job. I've actually had a number of conversations this week and last week actually
mm,
with traders that have kind of they've gone all in. So they've had businesses and they've kind of just put their business on the back burner a little bit and they've focused 100% on their trading and they're
mm.
not getting the results that they want. Have you found that having number one, obviously that the main income source from your business, but also having something that takes you away from the charts, something that gets your mind off things. Have you found that that helps you as well?
Massively, massively. So, um, I'm a bit of a gamer.
I can
So
see PS5
yeah,
behind you.
got me station right there. So if I'm like looking for something and I'm waiting for, an area to be swept, I just play my game. I completely not, because that's when I find that, similar to getting lost in that 1 minute chart, you get lost in that 15-minute chart and you're like waiting for it to happen. And then you start thinking, oh, hang on, have I not done it right? Or, anything like that. So yeah, having a way to step away from trading, because, end of the day, if you hit one trade that makes 3% a week, in a month you've passed the challenge sort of
Yeah.
thing. So you
Or made
don't
a lot of money.
or made a lot of money, exactly. So you don't need to look at it every day. You don't need to, and I find as well, like on the community, which I find really good, by the way, is all the everyone being able to like talk to each other and stuff. But sometimes I find that if you're looking on that and someone says, "Oh, I'm in," or got this, got that, that massively plays on your fear of missing out.
Yeah.
So I cast my eye over it all, but I almost just look at, I look at your daily analysis. I check that mine matches up with what you've got, make sure I'm still in check, and then I almost just leave it and do something else, sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I,
So yeah,
I
having
definitely
having the
agree.
business there is really, really handy.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I've seen this happen so many times. And obviously, I've worked with, over 1,000 people at this point,
Mm.
and created some very, very successful traders. And one of the big things that we see with the guys and girls that do really well is that their approach is so simple that you wouldn't even believe it. Like
Mm.
like you said there, you've kind of got your charts here. You're playing COD on this side or FIFA or something, and it's like, oh, check. Oh yeah, there's a setup, place to trade, and then you're back to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's when you focus on it too much. Funny enough, actually, right before this call, I was on a one-on-one session with one of our other clients, and he's kind of done this very thing. It's like when you're with trading, right? You got a scale, and you go from being a beginner, and you gain enough knowledge, and this is the sweet spot. This
Hmm.
is the sweet spot. You've got enough knowledge. If you just do this all the time, you'll make money. But what
Yeah.
happens is where people spend too much time on the markets, or they continue to do research, they kind of push themselves this way. So they have too much knowledge. So
Hmm.
then where they've got so much knowledge, it's very difficult for them to make a decision. They constantly, oh, what if this happens, or this, or this, or this? They've
Yeah.
got so many different bits of conflicting information that they just get analysis paralysis, and then they can't pull the trigger. They can't make money. They're not profitable.
Yeah.
So I think having that like balance where you've got just enough knowledge, you keep it simple enough that it is a case of, oh, check, trade, fantastic, I'll place the trade. And then you're
Hmm.
away, you're doing something else, you distance yourself from the charts.
Mm.
It's having that routine and having that sort of, I guess, that process in place to keep you on
Massively.
the straight and narrow.
I think that was, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Because when I first come back, obviously I had all that information from before where it was like, trend lines and support resistance and all of that sort of stuff. And what we're doing now is, we say complete opposite, but it sort of, it validates everything we've done before. Before I was thinking, oh wait, hang on, that's a support area there. Like, I'm gonna come out here because, like, it's gonna bounce back off, and it ended up taking profit, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, you're exactly, and I think it's important to, like you say, just stick to one trading style.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, you start sort of, there's not a wrong trading style and there's not a right trading style, but there's a one that fits in with your, personality and how you see everything.
Yeah. And there's having an edge and there's
Mm.
not having an edge, right? So
Yeah.
if you've got an edge, that's where you need to be. That is the sweet
Why else
spot.
do you need any more?
And it's like, even if you have two strategies that both provide edge, there's always going to be some sort of overlap there where
Mhm.
there's going to be diminishing results in one of the strategies.
Yeah.
So it's like I could go away now and build another strategy that provides edge,
Mm.
but I need to focus on one or the other. I need to
Yeah.
focus on one of them. Otherwise, again, you fall into that trap, right? Where it's like, oh, well, this strategy could do this, but this strategy is telling me to do this.
Mm.
It's the same as when you're trading with indicators, right? Well, one indicator could be oversold, one of them could be overbought. It's like, well, do I buy or sell in this
Yeah,
situation?
yeah. And then your human emotion comes into it, and then that's when it all just completely goes out the window, sort of thing.
yeah. And you make emotional decisions, and when you make emotional decisions, then you haven't got that edge
It
anymore.
don't work.
You're just
Yeah,
gambling.
yeah, that's it. Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
No, for sure. I think that it's good that, I mean, we've been working together since 2018, right? This was a very, very long time ago. So a lot of what we're talking
Yeah,
about is very, very old stuff from
yeah, yeah.
way, way, way earlier in my career, especially. Um, but yeah, it is definitely interesting how even in the development of my career, how things have changed and
Oh,
how you do
massively.
sort of mature and realize how certain styles are better than others, and you can make your life a lot easier. Like now, if I look at my trading days, I think I spend about 20 minutes on the charts a day because it
Mm.
is, I mean, again, I'm sure you're in the very much the same routine. It's like 5 minutes of analysis in the morning, set your alerts, and then pretty much doing nothing
Get the
until
job
those
done.
alerts go off, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And I think that's why I like this so much is because I can just, I say I trade 3 days a week. I set my charts every day, but really I'm really active them 3 days, sort of thing. The
Yeah.
other days I'm driving or got meetings or whatever. But yeah, like you say, once you understand the strategy and you understand your edge and don't say you get good at it because that's not the right words, but you really understand what's happening, you can just do it for 20 minutes.
Mhm.
Set some alerts and then just say go about your day, do whatever you want
Yeah.
to do, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of all comes down to the whole pattern recognition thing. It's like when you have your way of doing things,
Mm,
you've seen it so many times before. You're so used to how the market moves in that way that it, like when you see it, it's so blindingly obvious. It's just a press of a button, you're in the trade, and you just sort of let
wait
it
out.
run. You don't have to do this complex analysis. You don't have to sit and watch the charts for ages because
Yeah.
you're so focused on that one thing, and anything else that happens, you're indifferent about,
That's
really.
it. That's it. I think one thing that helps me as well when I'm in the trade, which I don't know if a lot of people do it or not, is I don't know, you might have seen me post about it a couple of times, but I take some profit early, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just because of my mindset, I've adopted a mindset of when I've entered the trade, I've like lost that money, sort of thing. It's lost. So whatever happens is, you know, the same as a loss or better.
Mhm.
So for me, when I reach sort of when I reach 2 or 3% of a trade, I take like a proportion of it out, just because then to me, that's like mine. That's my
Oh,
money.
it's
I
only ever a
want
win then,
that.
right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Over time, it affects my like, risk to reward because, on a say a 5% trade, I might make, I don't know, 2.5, 3%, but you don't need to make 5%. As long as you're
No.
making 2 to 3% on a trade, I don't see that as a problem personally, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of what you've identified there is I struggle with X problem. You've gone away, you've tested things, you've worked things out, and you've said, okay, if I do this, I no longer have to worry about X problem. And
Mm,
then that allows you to perform at a higher level consistently for a longer period of time, which then in turn allows you to have better results over time. It's like if you didn't do that, would that then diminish your performance over time? Would you then be taking losses?
mm,
And then when you take a loss, is your next trade then affected because you hesitate, or do you do something along the lines of that? And then you do miss a winning trade. So you're better off, instead of missing that winning trade, just taking, I mean, not lower risk to reward trades because you're still taking the trade, but
yeah,
you're making sure you're banking your profit, right? You're actually
yeah,
paying yourself first to ensure that you do battle with the psychological side of things
yeah,
in a better way. And you're actually sort of minimizing the risk on that side of things.
yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And as I said, the long term, you're not going to get that high percentage every single trade, but you're going to make 1% each trade,
Mm-hmm.
because by that time you can almost make your trade break even pretty much. So you've gained 1%, you know. Yeah, I just find, like you said, banking your profits early, my mindset, that's a win. I'm done. I can then really, really forget about it because I've already made 1% or 1.5% or whatever. And then it's done, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
then if it hits take profit, even better.
Yeah. It's a bonus.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I mean, like you look through these interviews, right, of all of the successful traders that I have done them with, and everybody kind of finds their own way of doing things.
Mm,
That it's like everybody's trading the same way, right? Everyone's finding the same trades, they're using the same concepts, following the same strategy, but they allow them to trade at optimal performance using different methods, right? Some people do this, some people do that. You do this, like it
mm.
allows you to perform at a high level consistently, which again, I think is the beauty of trading. It's not doing anything different, but it's making sure that it works for you and it's making sure that you can perform,
Yeah,
which I think is solid. And I think a lot of people can learn from that, right? It's like, yes, I
yeah,
can give you a foundation and I can show you the path to walk on, but figure things out for yourself. Spend the time to think about how you're doing things, develop your emotions around that, journal your emotions, understand where you need to improve on, and figure out ways to improve on it.
make
And
it
that's
work
where you
for
get
you.
those. That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No, totally. And I think the more that you can do that, the more you'll enjoy the process as well. If you're constantly battling with work or, skipping out of doing this or doing that, then you're not going to enjoy it and you're not going to, you know, want to want to do it sort of thing.
Yeah. I guess
Yeah,
this kind
no.
of comes into the same thing where like so many traders think that the work is done on the charts.
Mm,
But again, it kind of comes down to this whole analogy again. It's like when you
yeah.
get to you've got enough trading knowledge here. Don't take it any further because you'll just make it even more difficult for yourself. So the trading knowledge needs to stop here. The
Hmm.
rest of the work is away from the charts. So it's on looking at your data, so analyzing your performance,
Yeah.
doing like weekly trade assessments. It's like, okay, my strategy performed like this, but I only trade like this. What improvements going to make? And also looking into things like your emotional side, right? Understanding, okay, these were the emotions I was struggling with. What can I implement here to try and help me perform closer to what my strategy was performing at? And putting in the work behind the scenes so that when you do show up to the charts, you're able to actually perform at this level and not just this level.
Yeah.
And whereas so many people think it's just like, okay, I'm only performing at this level. So what other strategies can I put in? What other pairs can I trade as well to
That's
try and
it.
boost my
That's it.
profits? But that just means you're going to go in the other
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I think I mainly just trade GU. I dabble a little bit in EU, but majority of the time I'm just on GU sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, exactly that. You gotta trust the process in that it does work. But I just think mindset and your mentality towards everything is just so, so important. Um, like you say, you can almost teach anyone the strategy. You can write down list of rules, but to really, really do well and to be profitable, you've got to have that mindset there. You've got to, separate yourself from like money, if you like,
Hmm.
to move into like talking about percentages all the time, sort of thing. That's
Yeah.
how I do it. I would never, someone says, "Oh, how much you make?" I'll say like, "Oh, 3%." I don't know what that is in money because I don't associate it with it.
Changes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, but no, you're right, definitely.
Yeah. But I mean, like you've been around me for a long time. I don't know how many
Mm,
times I've said it, but the process, I always say that focus on the process and not the profits because the
mm,
profits are just a byproduct of mastering that process. And it rings true time and time again with every successful trader I speak to. It's like, oh yeah, I passed a challenge. I was, it's not, oh, I made 10 grand on my 100 grand account. It's like, oh,
yeah.
I passed my challenge. I got this trade, this trade, this trade. It's like, it's always so process orientated.
Mm,
And it's like a business, right? If you have a business, you have a business plan, you know what you need to execute to ultimately achieve X result. And
yeah.
all you do every single day is wake up and execute on that plan. And eventually the results come.
Mm.
It's the same with trading. If you have a business and you say, I want to make a million pounds this year, and you just focus on making that £1 million, but you don't focus on the process of getting there, you're never going to make it, right? It's the same with
No,
trading. If you
that's
say,
it.
okay, I've tested my strategy, I can see there's this much percentage that is available that I could be making. I need to wake up, focus on this, and if I can do that for long enough, then the gains are going to come. I'm going to be able to pass this challenge. I'm going to get this much funding. I'm going to be able to get these payouts, and it's only when you do that that you ever actually get results.
Yeah, yeah. No, totally. Totally.
Right. So to the big questions. I mean, listen, you've done incredible things already, smashed it. Obviously, started trading, took some time off, come back, and you sort of really dialed in and got the results. So you've been there, you've done it, you've got the t-shirt. To those struggling traders that are going to be watching this, I imagine they will be. They're people that are maybe on the fence of getting into trading. What would be your 3 top tips to a beginner trader if they wanted to become profitable?
I think sticking with one strategy, really, really learning it. Not looking for stuff that isn't there. Let the chart come to you. So let it show you where it's going to be moving. And the third one, I think mindset overall sort of everything. If you haven't got the right mindset with it all, then it's almost not going to fall into place properly. And I know on your training videos, there's a massive section of sort of mindset and all of that. And I think, even if you've gone through all of that, go through it all again, really, really look at that and really take that on board, because that is 90% of trading is, or any successful person in the world, like you just said, their mindset is on point, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
I 100% agree. 100% agree. Like, again, if somebody has went through and watched all of these videos, all these interviews, it's very, very common between all of the successful traders what people need to focus on. And it's like, yeah, we can facilitate the whole journey for you, but you need to come into this and understand that this isn't something to come and gamble with. You're not going to just sit and place a trade and make a load of money. It's about mastering the process, acquiring a skill set, and that skill set is going to last a lifetime if you can keep it simple and remain patient.
That's it, exactly. And it will last a lifetime, like I said at the very start, that's what brought me into it is, what brought me back into it is thinking that trade that I place today, I can place with however much money I want at whatever time I want, however old I am, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That process is exactly the same as it is today, as it will be in 50 years' time.
Yeah.
And that is what really, yeah, really made me come back in and knuckle down and do it all again.
Yeah. No, awesome. Well, yeah, big congratulations on getting
Thank you.
things ticking over. It's good to have you back in the community. I mean, you've been around for a while, so it's not really
Yeah,
bad.
yeah,
You've been
no,
here for a good couple of years already. But
that's it.
yeah, I'm sure that number one, a lot of new people and also a lot of people from the community will give this a watch, and I'm sure they'll pick up a load of great things. So
No, definitely.
yeah,
I love seeing everyone in the community like doing well as well. I don't post much in there, but I do look over everything, and it's great seeing like, the same names pop up and like seeing all their journey as well.
yeah,
Seeing them, this is my introduction, and then like a couple of months later, but I'm making this, I'm making that. It's really, really good to see.
yeah.
I
And then
love
they
it.
post their funding
Great.
certificate, and it's like nice.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, solid. But yeah, thanks for jumping on with me, mate.
No,
I
thank you
do
very much.
appreciate it. I'm sure, like I said, everybody's gonna get a lot of gems from this. But yeah, keep you posted on how things continue to go. I say it every time. We'll do another one in a year or so's time, catch up, see where things are. But
That's it.
yeah, thank you very much, mate.
No, thank you very much, mate. Speak to you soon.
Awesome, nice one. Take care, mate.
Cheers. Bye bye.